in Birmingham. So yes, I'm going to ask Anthony a few questions, and yeah, we look forward to see what Anthony says. At what age did you know that you had an interest in construction?
Construction is a fairly recent thing because I knew I wanted to build buildings from the ground up as a developer.
Yeah.
I had to be in construction. So that was more around the time when I decided I wanted to be a developer.
Okay.
I wanted to own these buildings, and then to do that I need to build them, obviously.
Yeah.
And naturally that means I'm in construction. So I'm not... We act as developers, so we usually recruit a construction firm or appoint a construction firm to undertake a construction project for us. Unless it goes wrong and then we have to take over, which we don't want to do, which we have done, which I've done, which I had to do last year actually. So no, there isn't really any interest from young, but definitely a few years ago when we first started out.
Okay, so you're a twin, like myself. Do you and your twin brother have a close bond, and have you ever done any business together?
Close bond, yes, definitely. He's not just a brother, he's a friend.
Okay.
And business together, yeah, we've tried to work on business together before. There's been a bit of conflict. Now we're working on something on the side, which is non-property related.
Okay.
Which we'll probably go into at some point later on down the line. But yeah.
Oh, that's great. It's good having a twin, isn't it? To have something to bounce off and...
Yeah.
You know, I mean, me and my brother, we never go longer than 4 days without speaking to each other. Well, one has to phone the other, but yeah.
Oh, so you're really close?
Yes.
I mean, look, I think in the past, we've definitely gone a few months without talking to each other.
Oh, gosh.
Just because I think it's just guys. But recently, in the past, maybe 10 years, probably not go more than a week or two.
Okay. Which is not too bad.
For us, that's a lot.
Okay, so many people name their business, and there's always a meaning behind the business name. So can you tell us why you called your business Volume Property?
Volume was named after volumes, like volumes in a book.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different volumes telling the same story.
Yeah.
And we wanted every building to tell its own story, but as part of the same overall brand.
Okay.
That's the meaning behind Volume. So our rooms are broken down into editions.
Yeah.
So we have edition 4 rooms, edition 3, edition 2 and edition 1. So edition 1, they're all high quality rooms, but edition 1 is the entry level.
Okay.
And up to edition 4,
Yeah.
which usually is the biggest and most luxurious apartments that have the most space. And we try and shape it around all that full sort of volume thing, storytelling.
Oh, it's a good story behind your business name. I like it. Okay, so can you talk more about your hashtag, Big Deals Only? Where did that come from? And tell us more about it.
Big Deals Only, that just came from social media. That just came from Instagram. I think because I was showing my projects online, and it was getting a bit of traction, I just thought, it just naturally, obviously, it's not as popular now, but years ago hashtags were really popular. Yeah. And I just wanted something that stood out. And it just made sense to go, actually, I'm working on larger projects, and I wanted a slogan that was more than just about what I'm doing, more about the idea behind it. And it's about pushing your comfort zone. So Big Deals Only is more about pushing your comfort zone, pushing your levels where you're at, and working on things that that basically push all levels of comfort, so you're producing more.
Which is a brave thing to do, because not many people will actually challenge their comfort zone. So at least you're doing that, and then you can go even more by like Big Deals Only. So that means you're setting yourself up like Big Deals Only, and that's it.
And it's Big Deals Only are relative. It's relative to who you are. If you're in the property field and you've never done a property deal before, if your first deal is a £200,000 house, I'd consider that a big deal. Yeah, definitely. Because you've gone from 0 to 200,000. That's the crazy level of. It's a big jump.
So what were the next steps that you had taken to get started in your career path as a developer?
Next steps from what point?
So like when you actually thought to yourself, like, that's something I want to do, did you actually like go down that route to do that, or is it something that you just ended up doing from experience?
I had no experience. I run a lettings company before, a lettings business.
Okay, yeah.
And from that point I wanted to somehow work on being, someone that could own larger buildings. So to to get to that point, I had to find a site first that I could potentially build on. So I went around looking for potential development sites.
Okay.
And then from there I found a team, like architects and others that could help me build a project. So I kind of learned it as I went along.
Okay, and that leads me on to another question. So when you pick your project sites, is it just Birmingham, or do you actually go anywhere, and it's about like what makes profits before you actually purchase that land?
Now we go further afield. When we first started out, first few years has been about Birmingham and our patch, because it's the area that we know best and we know well. We've started to get a really good understanding of other areas and other cities now.
Yeah.
So now it's elsewhere, further afield in the regions usually. So we're looking at stuff in Leeds and Sheffield, Manchester, so a bit further up north. We looked at stuff in Bristol before. Bristol's a bit of a challenging market. Just varies, but Birmingham are probably the most active.
Okay. So how was your experience at Leicester University?
Leicester University was a good uni. It was, I think uni was more about probably the social aspect.
Okay.
But education wise, it was good. Does it help me where I am today? Probably not massively.
Okay.
But I do like the fact I went for the experience, and would I do it again? Yes. I made some good friends there, made some connections there, and it was nice to move away from home. You know, I grew up in Handsworth in Birmingham, so it's my first opportunity to like move away from home.
Yeah.
I'm glad I thought about staying at home and maybe going potentially to Aston Uni. But I'm glad I moved away. It was just a different experience, your own space.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important for a lot of people that if you don't quite know what you're doing, or if you don't have a clear set path, it's not a bad idea if you've got a serious sort of course or endeavour in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And while you was at Leicester University, you worked in lettings and management, which was your own business.
Yeah, I set up a business.
Yeah. Can you tell us how that enlightened you, and did that add anything to your growth to where you are today?
Enlightened me. I had to learn the hard way. I was just trying to make a bit of money whilst I was at uni. I started finding students for landlords, so I started to put that connection together.
It's clever.
And charging a fee. I don't know, it was just natural to me at the time. It was like, where can I make money?
Yeah.
Alright, this landlord needs some student. I went on a viewing of a landlord to view their house for me to rent with my friends. And whilst talking to the landlord, I found out that they had other houses, and I was like, well, I know people that are looking for student accommodation, so why don't I make the connection, make a bit of money out of it?
Yeah.
So that's how that came about. It's more of a natural way of me just thinking, can I make some money out of this? And then, so I did that for a little while. Didn't really make much money out of it really, if any. But when I graduated, I had a client base. So all those landlords and students I was talking to were in need of accommodation or in need of residence.
Yeah.
So when I graduated, I thought, you know what, let me try it full time. I've got a client base. I know where to find the students.
Yeah.
Let me. That was the last job. So the last job I had was part time in Asda. And that lettings business, I started full time.
Yeah.
I was probably 21.
That's really good. And at 21, you know, it's brave. Do you know what I mean? It just shows that you're very ambitious back from then, 100%.
I think there's ambition there, but also at the same time, I didn't have a lot of responsibilities. I didn't really have
so
any.
it's like you kept yourself
I had
busy.
my car. My car wasn't on finance. I had a car.
Yeah.
I had a mobile phone bill to pay. That was it.
Okay.
And I think insurance potentially.
Yeah.
Car insurance and my mobile phone bill, probably one of my own responsibilities.
That's brilliant.
So it's my risks were low, and I knew that at the time.
Yeah.
I knew I didn't want to get myself in a position where I got a job or a graduate job, because then you start spending money.
Yes.
At that point, then I may end up getting a house or buying a house or renting a house somewhere. Your expenses really start clocking up then. And then it's harder to leave and go on an entrepreneurial endeavour.
Yeah, because
isn't
some
it?
people do get stuck because they've got things in
Trap.
pay to where they are. So
yeah.
I've got to keep
Responsibilities.
going. How can I not? Well, how can I do it any other way?
You've worked yourself into that position, and then it's why you hear when some people set up a business, they end up selling the place they're in to fund their business, to go and rent or live with friends or family to keep their expenses low, to then fund the business and run the business that they're working on. Whereas, fortunately, I got to start the other way around, where it was like, well, I'm not going to get myself into that position to begin with. Let me try it first and see if it works. If it doesn't, then I could get a job. But I always knew at some point I was going to go in business, so whether that was getting a job first, doing that for a few years, learning that field, and then setting up on my own. I always knew I was going to get into business.
That's good, because I think when you've got that focus and that mindset as well, you know, and you're actually like walking in that kind of field, it can only go one way. You know, even if it takes a few years, you're going to get there.
It takes a few years for most, doesn't it?
Yeah. You can't
now it's a bit trendy, isn't it? It's a bit trendy to be an entrepreneur and a business person. It's a bit of a trend. Whereas I don't think it was as trendy when I wanted to do it. It was just, I didn't like being told what to do. I wanted to make my own decisions, and I wanted to be a leader. I think that's how that's come about. But it's an interesting time right now. You've got a lot of, the online space is really interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
The personal branding space where someone can start from nothing, build up a personal brand in 6 to 9 months, and then make £1 million online from selling courses or whatever they sell, or a product.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
It's pretty crazy, and it's amazing really that you can go from very little to quite big in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And people think that you're the ish. You know
But
what I
they
mean?
did actually mention, I can't remember where I saw this many years ago, I think it was like back in the 60s, and they were showing like the iPads, an example of them, and like phones and things. And like this guy actually said, like, we're going to bring the work to you. You don't have to go to work. And I thought, you know what, it's completely right, because all these online courses now, if somebody wants to be in their home and earn a lot of money, they don't have to leave, you know, if they set it up properly.
Yeah, it's a lot now. It's a lot.
They knew what they was doing, it's all planned. Can you tell us about your first ever project, and did you learn anything from your first projects that you hadn't learnt previously, just like from general knowledge?
The first project I undertook was when I had my lettings company.
Okay.
So we had to refurb, like refurbs for most of the time, houses that we managed, and some of the houses we put on rent to rent at the time. So what did I learn from those? Well, you learn to deal with tradespeople.
Yeah.
You learn about how some can be quite unreliable and quality wise, and you learn that some can be quite reliable and they produce good quality work. So are they good? Look, you've got to get stuck in, haven't you? Referrals are key. Keeping on top of the tradespeople when you're getting work done. It's very different to what I do now. I don't have to keep on top of tradespeople.
Okay.
When we're doing the larger construction projects, you're meant to be dealing with a very professional outfit. It's almost like going to a firm of accountants, the way you deal with a larger contractor.
Yeah.
It's a team of professionals that are going, here's the project, here's the program, here are the timescales, these are the objectives, this is when we plan to start X, Y and Z. It's not I speak to the electrician and I speak to the plumber, and when you can do it, or I can do it.
Yeah, you've got a project manager for that now.
It doesn't work. But even at that, at project manager level, it depends what you class as a project manager. A project manager level, or even a site manager level, there's so much work that's been done before it even gets to them. They've only got a certain amount of work to manage. They don't have to. Do you know what I mean? They can put a program in place, but everyone knows what they're doing because they've all got their detailed drawings. It's not like in a refurb project when most refurb projects, people aren't working to drawings.
Yeah, no, that's all.
You just might write a few notes down. I want 4 sockets in that room, 2 light sockets.
Yes, plastering.
Yeah, exactly. And a bit of plastic. Like you work it out as you go along. So, first projects were okay. Does it set me up for where I am now? No, totally different.
Okay.
Totally different. It's a different beast.
I thought it would have.
Different beast.
No, it's good to know that, because some people obviously think that, oh, okay, I've done a house project, so now I can go on to doing bigger ones.
Yeah,
so
it's different.
Yes, it's good you say that.
Look, what's good is, alright, you know how plastering works, potentially, you know materials, you know about first fix, second fix. So that kind of information base is pretty good to have.
Yeah.
You know what happens when the electrician comes and, whatever. But it doesn't help. It's nice to know, but it does not help you deliver a big project because with a separate contractor, because you need to know how to hold that contractor to account and to put in the right, it's about contract documentation. It's very different at this stage.
Okay, so you built a derelict building back in 2019, which was just a square plain building, and rather than you convert it, you decided just to flatten it. So what did you do after the demolition? Tell us more.
So got planning permission first, got that, so the one that you're talking about is a deal that, a video posted, I've done pretty well on social media.
Yeah.
So we got planning permission got the deal done in 2017, got planning permission in 2019 and bought it in 2019.
Okay.
Once we bought it, we demolished it because we had planning to demolish it and build a new accommodation. So yeah, we went on and built it. I don't know what else to go into details about the construction, but yeah, it was a 48 apartment scheme for students.
Nice. And was that your first big one in the city centre?
Second.
Okay. Do you want to tell us what the first one was?
The first deal I did is a project called Bridge Street Studios. So it's a 70 apartment student scheme.
So bigger than the second one then?
Bigger than the second one. But it had more problems than the second one.
Right.
I found that site in fact, funny enough, I was on a viewing looking, when I had my lettings business, looking at a property that a landlord wanted my company to potentially rent out for him or even to lease from him.
Okay.
So I went to a viewing, looked around, wasn't really feeling the property to be honest. I hope he's not watching this. But he was doing a refurb.
Yeah.
Conversion, and I could see that it just wasn't going to be the standard that we wanted to deal with. We're trying to get away from that sort of stuff, and we had gotten away from it for over the past few years. Anyway, whilst there, I saw the site next door, and I thought, well, that's interesting. So I asked the landlord of that property, the one I went to view, who owned the site next door. And he said, look, someone owns it. I'm going to buy it one day. And I thought, ooh.
Oh, he said that?
He said he's going to buy it one day.
Okay.
I was thinking, yeah, we'll see. And so that same day, I found the owner's number of that building next door on Google. So I went to Google Street View. I went back, on Street View when you can go back a few years.
Yes.
Top corner. So back a few years and I saw a sign on there with his number on it. I called it. Turns out he still had the same number.
Oh, it sounds like fight back to see.
So if you go on that there, you can call him now.
Oh no.
Call him now and ask him why he tried to mess me about, and that's anyway, got it caught in the end. Yeah, don't do that. That's not very nice, unless you want to. Unless you want to. So they got it built, but that was a bit of an episode. So the property's done, it's finished now. People have moved in.
Okay.
But that was a bit of an episode. We had a contractor go bust on us. We had delays at the start of the project. It just delayed the start because of how it was designed. It wasn't designed in the most efficient way, so we had to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
The seller, when we got planning permission, he tried to pull out of the deal, which is why if you want to call him. But he tried to pull out of the deal and screw us basically.
So I can ask a question. Did he do, because I know sometimes people don't think of ideas, did he kind of do that because it's something they wanted to do himself?
Oh,
after you guys had already done all the plans and obviously give the ideas there already?
It's not about, it's more about he knew the value had gone up.
Yeah.
So we'd agreed a deal for we'd agreed a deal for £400,000 and it probably cost us at least £60,000 getting planning permission. So we did that at our time and our cost. And as soon as we got planning permission, we were like, we're ready to buy it now as per our agreement. And he was like, no, not having it. And he made up some reason as to why. I mean, it was a nonsensical reason. So we had to get our lawyers involved. And he had to sell. He was in the wrong.
Yeah.
But he did it because he thought he could make more money. It was just what a crook does.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, when it's like that, because obviously with a lot of properties, even like auctions and things, you want to know if you can get planning and things like that. Is there things in place that stop people like the owner from going to car and not going to sell it now, like with yourself?
Well, technically, but we had a contract with an agreement. We upheld our end of the agreement, and he wanted to change that because he thought he was missing out financially. But everything was kosher from our side. So he's just in the wrong. That was all. He had no rights to try and back out of the deal. He just thought he could make a lot more money. He was just upset. But I mean, that's his own doing, isn't it? We took the risk. But I don't think he would have done it anyway. He wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
He would not have taken that financial risk. He was happy with what we offered him, very happy, because he had just had that offer.
Yeah.
He had that offer on the property, the same price, with a previous buyer, and that buyer, the deal fell out of bed. The buyer backed out. So we came in, offered him the same money that he was happy with anyway. Yeah. So it was all good. We weren't putting any funny business. And he was very adamant about getting a deal in place quickly, funnily enough.
Right.
So he was like, no, let's get a deal in place quickly. So we did that, and then we got the planning permission at our time and cost took us 10, 11 months to do. And then obviously
It's
tried to
not- it's a long
So
process,
that's a long
isn't it?
process and it's risky. If we didn't get planning, we could have lost all that money, tens of thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
So he was not prepared to take that kind of risk anyway.
After the demolition and when you started the groundwork, how long did it take for the building to actually come out of the ground?
I would say once we had demolished the building, cleared the site, or done all the groundwork, piling, ground beam, maybe a couple of months.
Okay, that's not too bad. That's pretty good. And then just ask you a bit about the inside as well. So I find that your interiors are very stylish. Do you outsource the work, or is that something that you have the decision in?
I don't have a decision in it, but no, I get a separate interior designer in.
Okay.
Always. But the only mistake I've made with an interior designer is not getting them involved sooner.
Yes.
It's important to get an interior designer involved.
Yeah, for me, from when you've got the plans.
Early doors, yeah. As soon as you've got plan permission, you're about to go ahead.
Yeah.
Bang. That's when the interior designer needs to get involved.
Yeah, because I think as well, like with ourselves, when we like planning the outlay of the room, again, it's important because from our design, you know where to put your sockets and things like that.
It's that first fix design, isn't it? It's that, and these larger projects. This is not the kind of you can get away with it, but it's risky and it's just long-winded. You don't want to be making any changes or variations to the project when you're close to starting or once you've already started.
Yeah.
You need to be doing it. It needs to be in the design. The drawings that the electrician's working from needs to be what accounts for your design.
Yeah.
So yeah, it needs to be done very early.
So what facilities did you put in place for the students?
It varies on the blocks we have. We have a chill lounge, we have a study room, we have a gym, we've got a cinema.
Cinema?
Cinema?
Did you get a cinema room?
We've got a cinema, it's nice.
Is there rules for that, or is it something you just put in?
Sorry?
Is it something you just put in, or is there rules for a cinema?
The cinema's new. The cinema's in one of our, the block we just finished. The students just moved in on Saturday.
Yeah.
So it's not even a week old and they're loving it. So yeah, we've got a cinema. What else have we got? It just varies from a lounge to a cinema to a gym to study rooms.
So going back to the cinema, is it something where they can watch their own things, or?
Yeah. So 85-inch TV in there.
Like, you students are lucky.
Yeah, but they, you know what, we're also lucky to have them. They pay a lot of money, so the rent's not cheap. And it's not easy to rent with us. Sorry?
Allowed to ask what the rents are?
Yeah. Rents start from, depending on which accommodation. One of the cinema, the cheapest rent for a room is £171 a week.
Okay.
And there wasn't really many of those rooms. They sold out really quick. The most rents are £190 plus a week. So they're not cheap, so they're paying a lot of money and it's not easy to rent with us. The guarantor requirements can be quite difficult to meet for some.
Yeah.
And so we've got to make sure we perform for them, so we try and give them a really nice space and make sure it's kept clean, and then hopefully they look after it as well.
Yeah. And that leads me on to my other questions. So with the student accommodation, do you find that many of them get damaged?
Damaged? Do you know, for the most part we've been alright. You do get some damage there, where some are just out of control.
Yeah.
And we fix it and we have to charge them for it.
Okay.
But we don't often charge students for things. Look, unless they've left it excessively dirty, their apartment, or damaged, we don't charge them. We'll just get it cleaned at our cost and sort it. But you do get students who just leave their rooms absolutely filthy and the oven's filthy. And it costs us more to put it back to order. Yeah. But even then, they don't get charged much, maybe 50 quid.
It's one of those that's expected that they've lived in it and...
Yeah, they just need to clean it back to how we gave it, because if we gave it that standard, you'd know about it from Gen Z. Yeah. Gen Z do not mess around. So you definitely know about it, and you'd know about it from them and the parents. Okay. It'd be nice if parents came to the checkout as well, and not just the check-in. You should make that a requirement.
True, you're right there.
Because on the check-in they'll look around like, this isn't good enough or this is good enough. 99% of the time, we give our flats absolutely pristine. Yeah. It's like hotel standard. I've actually seen correspondence from people over the past few days. I've logged into the company inbox just to read some. Yeah. and there was some really good feedback about how spotless the rooms were. So it'd be nice, it'd be nice if they could attend checkout as well to make sure they give it back spotless.
So parents attend the checkout, please.
Attend the checkout as well.
Just the check-in.
See how they get the property back.
When you're doing like these large projects, like where do the kind of costs start? Like how much does it cost to do the whole build, and then kind of at the end of it, like what would the building be worth?
So one of my projects, Bush Street Studios, the contracts went bust on that one. But in the end, if we were to tot it up, it probably works out to a £5-ish million build cost.
Okay.
And now, based on where we've got the rent and the values, we're probably closer to £11 million value. So in between that, you still got to pay for professional fees and interest and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And I'll put a nice number on for that.
Okay.
So yeah, it's on the projects that we have, because we own and operate them and rent them out, we get to improve operational efficiency, so try and reduce the operational costs, try and increase rents where we can, really look after the building, look after the residents, and that gets you a higher net rent, and that building is valued off how much net rent it makes, just like a business is valued off its profit. Sometimes, based on a number of factors, but profits are sometimes a big indicator on these buildings.
Yeah.
Similar thing, profits are a big indicator, rental profit.
Okay, so when it comes to property development, a lot of people would love to do it, but obviously one of the biggest issues is about raising finance. Can you tell us more about ways that you can raise finance, and you've probably done it yourself as well?
A lot of times raising finance is thought to be an issue, when actually it's usually how you've positioned what you're doing opposed to raising the finance. A lot of people, it sounds counterintuitive, but I think that the finance is the big issue, and it's not. So raising finance, there's two types of finance you can raise generally for projects. It could be equity, which is like investor money, your own money, or money that you get from investors. That's equity. And then the other part of finance is debt. So you normally go to a bank or some kind of lender, and then do the other part, and that makes up the two components of financing usually. So equity and then debt usually is a bigger amount.
One question though, is that classed as good debt?
It depends if it's a good deal, I suppose. Depends if it's a good deal. But yeah, it's meant to be good debt. You're meant to be going into this project with a profit margin, so if it does go wrong somewhere, then that you should be able to repay the debt, because your equity is at risk first. In fact, your profit's at risk, then your equity, then your debt's at risk, in that order. So is it raising finance? Is it easy? No, it's not easy. Any deal comes down to the positioning of who's in the team, and that's from professional team to developer to architect to engineer to contractor to what your exit is, market values. There's a combination, there's a number of factors that you look at to assess whether it's a good deal or not. And off the back of that, you go out and raise finance based on that. So you go, here's my project, this is what I'm planning to build, this is what it's going to cost me, this is what it's going to be worth, here are the profit margins, here's the professional team that I've got this person, this person, this person, this person, this company, here's their track record, here's my track record, this is the package. The only element we're missing from this package is X amount of equity and X amount of debt. That's it. It's about packaging. Once you package it right and you've got the right deal, one is it's got to be the right deal, and two, it's got to be packaged correctly. That's it. And then the finance comes.
And then you've got the investors out there.
Then the investors,
for a project.
the investors, banks, lenders are in the business to lend. They want to lend. They're looking for reasons to lend, and they'll be looking for reasons why they wouldn't lend, where they're exposed. So that could be they don't like the professional team or the track record of the contractor or whoever it is. Or it could be they don't like the market, the deal's in, the area, what you're planning to do with the deal. So they usually have a certain kind of criteria they're looking for roughly on the type of deal they're looking to either lend on or as an investor invest in. So once you've got that right and it meets their parameters, so it's why you want to take certain deals to certain investors. Certain deals are not going to work for a certain type of investor or a certain type of bank, and that could be anything from the fact it's an office and it's not student, or it's residential and it's not an industrial shed, or it could be the fact it's development, it's a conversion, or it's a new build instead of a refurb, whatever.
Yeah, that's good. So how many projects have you worked on up to today?
The large projects, we're working on number 4 and 5 at the moment.
Okay.
Large ones.
Yeah.
So when I say large, finding campus.
Nice. Okay, well that's a good achievement over the years you've been doing it. And is that just the big projects, not including the small?
Yeah, smaller ones, I don't know, there'll be dozens,
Okay.
a few dozen.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're well experienced.
Yeah. So what kind of projects are you doing?
So at the moment we're still working on an office to house conversion, and then at Mailbox I've done a renovation there. So that's still
Office?
No, that's a house. That was a 2-bed house.
At the mailbox?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, the houses
Yeah,
above.
apartment house.
Yeah, I've seen it, I've been to it.
So yeah, so that's still in the process, and then just working on some other little house projects, and I've got a renovation in Selly Park as well.
Nice.
So yes, I'll say about 4 or 5 projects at the moment.
Nice.
And yeah, so I enjoy it, but we'll go back to you.
So you involved in these projects from what? Back to brick?
Okay, so the way it
You get
works
early.
is, yeah, so any project that comes to me, if you've not got plans already, then we'll go out, we'll measure the whole building, and then we'll create the drawings for the building. So from there, that's where all the design happens. I will go on to cost everything. So then, for instance, if it was like one of your student accommodations, we'd create the layout, we find all the furniture, all the fixtures, and then also with that we create a 3D visual. So every project has a 3D visual so that you can see exactly how that room's going to look, the colours, the textures, and then alongside it we do a cost sheet as well. So then from the start, like, you will know already how much each room is going to cost, and obviously if you times it by 56, then yeah, you know what your figures will be. And then at that stage, if you need to bring the price down, then that's something that we can work on, because obviously we've not purchased anything yet. So yes, it's kind of a very structured process that works, and yeah, it helps us to work to people's budgets as well, because you know, if some things end up too costly, then we can go back, find it and bring the cost down. So yeah, we work off plans, and the exciting times when everything starts to get installed into the project and we see how it looks. So yeah.
Yeah, good.
So which property books did you read to inspire you, and which books would you recommend to anybody who wants to become a developer?
I don't think do you know what property books I read to inspire me? Yeah, it's a property books. I think I was reading a lot. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, but I don't know if that inspired me. I was already on my path by the time I read that book. Books in general. Now that's different. There's 2 books that I say changed was a game changer for me. One's The E-Myth by Michael E. Gerber, which is about putting systems in place in your business, and how it's not about having really exceptional team members. It's about having an exceptional system, an exceptional process, and how you don't necessarily need mediocre people, but an excellent system to have a really good business. So an excellent team and a poor system can mean that can underperform relative to a team that has a mediocre team with really good systems. So even if it was a massive game changer for about how to train people in the job, how that you don't train them. You don't train them on the job, you train them through written communication, you train them through videos, as well as showing them what to do, but you make sure that's combined. And the other book is The One Thing by Gary Keller, and that book's just about focusing and how when you really double down on something, results start to happen, but when you're spread thin and you're trying to do too many projects or too many different things, that's when you start to suffer. That's a big thing. So yeah, it's that's a good feeling. I've been nominated for a few recently, and it's good. I never really needed recognition.
Yeah, but you get it.
But it's nice to get it. It's nice to get it.
After all your hard work, why not? People, obviously you're getting recognised a lot as well, so It's only right to get an award.
Get an award of it, just top it off.
Yes, definitely.
Cherry on the top.
Definitely. So how has the industry shaped you as a person today?
Good question. It's definitely a reminder to definitely hold people to account a lot. There's a lot of professionals and there's a lot of some savage persons out there. It's a bit dog eat dog at times. So you've got to watch yourself in that respect. And then you also got to make sure people perform. And when you're dealing with some of these projects, the implications of someone not performing is huge.
Yeah.
Like financially involved, project-wise and time-wise, and emotionally and whatever else. So yeah, how's it shaped me? Definitely. Forces me to be someone that pays attention to detail a lot more, and then holds people as well to account. Yeah,
good. And have you got any advice that you'd give any students out there who want to get into property? Any advice?
Students. Property is meant to be about investing and making money and getting a return. I think it's really important to work out what your end goal is first before just diving into property. Work out, is it something to invest in and something to have a bit of fun with as you're doing, or is it something that's long-term wealth generation for you or potential heirs? It's really about making and getting clear on what the end goal is and then working backwards from there, because certain property strategies, if you like, aren't going to be appropriate. If you want to do something that generates wealth passively on the side, somewhat as passive as you can get, I guess, you don't really want to be going into running an Airbnb business, because that's going to take a lot of time, very hands-on, people are going to damage your property, you got your cleaners in, the cleaners are going to let you down at some point in the property. It's very hands-on and very active, and that's a business, it's not really property, it's business. I'd class Airbnb more of a business than it is being in property. Whereas if you're investing in buy-to-lets and you had a managing agent managing them, and you just checked in with the managing agent and meant to go and check your house out maybe once or twice a year, that's a bit different, because that managing agent is doing the work for you and they're sending you monthly statements, and it's very less hands-on than, say, running an Airbnb business. So work out what the end goal is and then choose a strategy around that, and you can take it from there if you want to be a big developer. Very different. I think a lot of people, it's funny, partially because I'm a developer, I get people coming to me saying, I want to do that. But there's a lot involved. It's not just, I think it looks good because you go from a piece of land, or whatever it is, to this big building. And it's like, I want to do that. And probably it's more, I want to own the building. Maybe you're better off sticking to what you currently do, and from the proceeds of that, use that to buy one of those buildings rather than go through the process of developing it, because that's a whole other field and career, and these projects are not straightforward. There's always problems, there's always challenges to overcome at every stage of the project. So it's kind of like, well, why put yourself through that unless you want to commit to being a developer? There's no need to put yourself through doing that if you're an interior designer and you want the big buildings. Why put yourself through the development process? Why not just sort of go towards the end once you've made a lot of money and deploy funds that way? I just use that as an example.
So I'm going to ask you the least of B signature question. If the power was in your hands, what would you change about the world today and how?
Oh, that's a tough one. What would I change about the world today? I think a lot of the problems in this world is probably down to lack of compassion, isn't it? So I think something that aligns people's interests and aligns thoughts around how other people are feeling and what they're going through. And I think we'd all be in a better place. I think a lot of people are very focused on what their own problems are and what they're going through.
There needs to be more love in the world.
Yeah, more love and more compassion.
Yes,
I think
definitely.
there was more compassion and more empathy.
Yeah.
We'd be in a much better place right now.
Okay, so everyone, that is the end of our podcast with our special guest, Anthony Laville. And I'd like to say thank you so much. You've done great and answered some brilliant questions and given us some great answers. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Anthony.